The reviews are in, and we're going to tell you what they are. He's Todd Vandenberg, and I'm Rob Steele. And yes, it was a little bit of foreshadowing when I said tune back into us on Friday to find out what the reviews are, because that's exactly what Todd's going to tell you about. It's going to be us. No, not Todd and Rob, although that's a hint about what I'll be talking about later. Kind of, sort of, maybe, in a bizarre, roundabout way. Look at all the ellipses Shatner left at my house. Todd, please start reviewing us.
Oh, Lord. So, Us is the only thing I can say about it that's negative is I'm not a fan of the title. It doesn't really tell you that much about it, although in a meta type of way, it absolutely does. That's what it's about. It's about us, not about the characters in the film as much. But Jordan Peele's follow-up to Get Out. I've seen reviews that say this is the best horror film of the decade. I saw one review that said it's the best horror film ever, and I cannot agree with either of those reviews. I don't think it's even a horror movie. That's not a knock. That's not a knock, because I didn't think Get Out was a horror movie either. It's so far, and of course he's only made the two movies. So far, he has a pretty unique ability to blend a lot of different genres. So it has elements of horror, definitely has elements of horror. I would say it's more of a social thriller, which really sounds like, wow, what the hell are you even talking about? But just like Get Out was about society and race and its impact on society, Us is about the impact of really just identity in society. And I know this is like highfalutin and way past my pay grade to even talk about, but it's not just your typical horror film. It's about how we think of ourselves as people and how we identify ourselves and how we relate to other people too. And that's all below the surface. On the surface, it's a home invasion movie, but it's a lot more than that. From the trailer, you think that's all it is. And I'm sure you've seen the trailers where this family, they're on vacation, and all of a sudden, here are their mirror images, and they're invading their home. It goes way, way past that. That's just the beginning of the movie, really. There's a lot more to it than that. And I'm not going to spoil anything other than there are lots of twists, and there's a really nice twist at the end. A lot of action, a lot of suspense, a lot of terror. So at times it is scary, but it's not a scary film. It's very intense though. And there's a lot going on in this movie. I'll say two things that made me really, first, let me say three things. Really entertained by this movie. Absolutely recommend this movie. Another thing is this proves that they could not have found a better person to reboot The Twilight Zone. I am absolutely thrilled to watch The Twilight Zone, knowing what he's done with Get Out and and Us, because they're complex. They have morals. There's a moral in each of these movies. There's several morals actually going on, and they're entertaining on the surface. So they're not preachy at all. They were very entertaining to watch, and yet there's a message or several messages in the movies, and that's what Twilight Zone was about at its best. So Twilight Zone is in great hands. The last thing is, wow, the lead actress, excuse me, Lupitany Nyong'o. Holy cow! If she doesn't win several Best Actress awards for this, there is no freaking justice. I mean, she is incredible, absolutely incredible in this movie, playing the two different roles, which are very, very different. And just the journey that her main character goes through. I mean, she is freaking amazing. Everyone is good in the movie, absolutely. But this is her movie, and it's her performance that absolutely makes it work. Really, really like this movie. And if you go in thinking this is a typical horror movie, like, this is not Halloween. Really like the reboot of Halloween. This is not that kind of film at all. So don't go in thinking of this as a horror movie, because you'll probably be disappointed. But if you go in thinking, oh, this is going to be scary, it's going to be suspenseful, it's going to be weird, you'll enjoy it.
Which sounds good, and almost the complete opposite of what I saw this week.
I'm sure. Sure,
Except,
very.
that what I saw was also, well done, well acted and everything. And yeah, I think someone deserves an award for this. Lupita Nyong'o was not in this one, though. And the one I went into to see this week was not a movie I had intended on seeing, except for one thing, because the two main actors in it, I got to admit, not a big fan of either. One of them just because he's never really done much of anything for me. The other one because he has a tendency to team up with Will Ferrell and make movies that I consider to be intelligence draining. And, another reason I had no interest in seeing this movie initially was because it's a biopic of two people I never particularly paid much attention to in the first place. The main thing I knew about these two people were I pretty much got everything from when they were in a Scooby-Doo episode back in 1974.
Oh, Rob, you're so terrible.
I just never got around to seeing anything on Laurel and Hardy. So seeing the movie Stan and Ollie wasn't much of a thing for me. I was expecting to learn something, and I figured I probably should, because about 5 miles from my house,
Really?
Oliver Hardy was born, and that's where the Laurel and Hardy Museum is. I haven't been to it yet. I'm probably going to go to it soon now. But I said, you know what? I'll watch this because, it's something I should probably do. I probably need to know more about these people. They're big in the history of movies.
They are.
And entertainment. I didn't realize how much, but and you find out during this particular movie where Steve Coogan plays Stan Laurel, and he's the one who should probably get an award or two out of this. And John C. Reilly plays Oliver Hardy, and yeah, he's the one who teams up with Will Ferrell that I normally, if he's not with Will Ferrell, I like him, and he's not in this movie, therefore I liked him. See? It's that. And I'm going to describe this movie in a way that, like you said, Us is not a horror movie. It's all these other things. I am going to describe Stan and Ollie as a romantic comedy without a platonically romantic comedy.
A bromantic comedy.
That might even work. Because it's really about the relationship between Laurel and Hardy in the later years after, because they've broken up and they're in the process of getting back together. Boy, does that sound like a romantic comedy. There's no sex at all it's mentioned a couple times. Not between the two of them. They both have wives played by Shirley Henderson, who I think also does a really good job, and is really bizarre because she's maybe half the size of she plays Oliver Hardy's wife, only she's half the size in height and maybe a tenth the size in girth. I mean, next to him, she is just tiny. And Nina Arianda, her. She plays Laurel's wife, actually. And I think both of them, they mentioned this, that they've had several wives throughout their career. That's why they have no money. Damn you, alimony. It's a thing. And this is about a tour of Europe they did while they were trying to get money together to do a Robin Hood movie, which never got made. That's a spoiler. You're going to find that out in the first 15 minutes. Don't worry about it. But basically, it's how they get back together. Will Oliver's health hold up and let them carry on? I mean, it's just about the tour they had after World War II through Great Britain and toward the end, Ireland. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of talking about how they wrote their material, a lot of backstage stuff. And it's actually just, it's fun to watch because when they were with other people, they were pretty much always in character. And even a lot of the times when they weren't together, Laurel goes off to go talk to the producer of this movie, who you're not going to like. I'll go ahead and tell you that. You'll figure that out quickly enough anyway. He stays in character, and even him by himself is very funny. Which is why next week I'll be reviewing several Laurel and Hardy. I'm kidding. I'm probably going to watch a couple between now and then. But and I think that's a good thing because these guys were huge, and I didn't realize how much. But it's going to make me want to watch the actual Laurel and Hardy movies now, of which there are, I think, 160, which will keep me busy at least until next week.
It will.
And I think that's a good thing. If you watch something that makes you want to watch something else, or something that makes you go, ooh, history, what a concept. Let's go back and watch this. It's a good thing. Is this movie going to win, Oscars or anything? I doubt it. But you know what? It's still a good movie. I'm not going to watch it religiously, but I did watch it, and it made me want to watch other things that I think could be also good. So I'm going to recommend Stan and Ollie, which is now streaming, because we missed it in theaters. Both of us had mentioned it.
Yes.
Seeing the trailer and going, this looks weirdly good. And you know what? It was weirdly good. So stream this.
I like weirdly good. I'll recommend a couple right out of the box. The music box. I would hope they at least reenacted part of that. Is they're moving a piano.
They actually that was mentioned, and they don't reenact that scene exactly in the movie, but and this is probably a dramatization, it actually did happen to them in the movie. And they kind of make a reference to that. Didn't we do this before? It was a piano last time, but it's actually a trunk. They drop down the stairs after they spend all this trouble getting it up, and they just kind of go, do we really need to take that trunk with us?
Yeah, that's a callback. And the Flying Deuces, where they're pilots. Tons of things that they did, obviously, but they had a brilliant chemistry. And I'm looking forward to seeing Stan and Ollie. So they were two of the biggest stars ever.
One of them literally.
Hollywood. One of them literally, right. And they both have pretty good careers as solo artists afterwards. So good. Another weirdly good film. I like it.
Speaking of weirdly goods, you have a couple of one weird and one good film to compare?
Yeah, I do indeed. Last week talked about Captain Marvel, and Rob had reviewed Alita Battle Angel, which still should be called Battle Angel Alita. But anyway, besides the point, a few weeks ago, and liked it.
Good movie.
I finally got to see it yesterday, and I think I may have liked it even better than you did. I don't think it's a great movie, but I really enjoyed the movie. I think it's really odd that the internet trolls who are so against Captain Marvel were pushing Alita Battle Angel instead, because it's the same story. It's just not set in the Marvel universe. A young woman kind of just wakes up, doesn't know who she is, doesn't know anything about her background, tries to find out who she is, tries to find her real purpose, her own power. It's exactly the same story. Incidentally, both win. Spoiler alert. I thought Alita, keep on calling it Battle Angel Alita. I thought Alita was really well done. I'm sick of hearing all the comments about James Cameron this, James Cameron that. It's like, he produced it. Robert Rodriguez directed it. Can we get a little love for the guy who actually made the movie? It's like, oh my God. I think for every one mention of Robert Rodriguez, you read, they mention Cameron 10 times. It's like, back off, please. Okay. This his project, but he didn't make the movie. Robert Rodriguez has done some terrific movies. I think this is another. I don't know if it's terrific, but it's really, really good. Again, it's
a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. The action sequences, because we were talking about when the trailer came out, and I was like, wow, this looks really good. Happily, the trailers only scratch the surface on the action sequences. There's a ton of really good action. The CGI is excellent, which you kind of have to do CGI when you're portraying cyborgs battling in the year 25, whatever. So it happens. It's a cool love story, and I thought they did a good job of just moving past the concept of a human falling in love with a cyborg. I think they handled that really well. They addressed it, and then they just went past it. So I thought that was really well done. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I think if the situation was reversed, if Alita was part of the Marvel universe and Captain Marvel was just a standalone project, the box office would be absolutely reversed. I'm still not sure why Alita hasn't done well here. It's done really well overseas. Worldwide, it's just under 400 million, whereas Captain Marvel is like at 800. And a lot of the difference is here. Yeah, it's just kind of an odd thing. I think Alita's done like 80, maybe close to 90 million here. Captain Marvel's over 300. And again, box office isn't necessarily a sign of quality at all. I mean, Home Alone was the biggest box office comedy ever for a while. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, I'm not going to get off track on that. I'm not going to cry. But Alita was very, very good. But it really struck me how similar those two films are. And for the people who were butthurt about Captain Marvel being a strong character, to promote Alita is absolutely
doesn't make any sense.
Laughable, which proves that really they haven't seen either movie, or they didn't understand either movie. I mean, at the most basic concept. Alita, really good movie. Is it set up for a sequel? Definitely.
Yeah.
Set up for a sequel. They practically hung signs to say, wait for the next installment. And it should. It should have a sequel, and it's made enough at this point where I'm sure they will make a sequel. I just hope they keep Robert Rodriguez in place for it, because I thought he did a terrific job in this. Really, really enjoyed Alita, Battle Angel, and maybe for the sequel they'll just call it Battle Angel Alita. That would make me happy.
Just to, get things grammatically correct, maybe. I know what threw people off in America. There's a colon in the name of that movie.
That could be it. But a very, very enjoyable movie. The one thing that bothers me about the film, and it's very slight, and it's not the eyes, because the eyes are kind of off-putting for a lot of people initially.
You get used to that. I got used to it really quickly.
Very quickly. The thing I didn't like about it is that Rosa Salazar plays Alita, and because of that, you don't really get to see Rosa Salazar. I mean, yeah, it's based on her, and it looks a lot like her, just with big eyes. But it kind of does a disservice to her, because she's terrific in the role, and you almost don't get a feel for. You don't get a feeling for what she really looks like, just because of the eye thing. So, and that won't change with the next movie, obviously. But you can definitely expect to see more of her in films going forward. I thought she was great. Absolutely great.
I'll agree with you. And I want to see more of her in other movies. Let me rephrase that. I would like to see her acting in a lot of other. I'm not going to get that out correctly.
I want to see her in a Marvel movie.
There we go.
Be fine, but I think that'd be great to see her in a Marvel film. It'd be very, very cool. Not that I want to put her in the superhero ghetto, as some people think of that type of film, but that would be great.
And maybe it'll happen someday. And if we ever find out about it, we'll let you know on the Sunday show, which you can tune. Damn it, I do it again. I really do. It's Mondays.
It's Monday.
Damn it, Mondays.
Turn your dial to the right.
I need a lasagna. Anyway, so yeah, once we find out, tune into the Monday show, because we'll let you know. And until then, we've given you some suggestions, so now you can get out and go see a movie.
That's pretty much it.